Welcome back to Web Tech. Today we're going to move forward and we're going to learn about CSS or cascading style sheets. And I'm going to give you a brief overview going through this PowerPoint, just talking about it. I want you to kind of get the big picture while I'm doing this. Don't be frantic or taking too many notes. I actually have this PowerPoint in Blackboard for you to look back on. Just kind of get an understanding of it. The reason I say that is because once we go through this PowerPoint, we are going to be going through a handout, and we're going to work through that just with some general concepts, and then we're going to apply it to our Bubble Under website. So this is where my PowerPoint is going to be, and then we are going to be working on a new handout after this. So just kind of hold on and watch through this PowerPoint first. So I'm going to show you what CSS can do, and I'm going to show you a crazy example. But basically I want you to think about style sheets. If you're familiar with desktop publishing, style sheets have been used for years and years. And you would set up a style sheet and say, all of the body copy in this magazine should be 12-point Arial. And all of my headings in this magazine should be 18-point Times New Roman bold. The reason you would do that is because if you had an entire book or document, several pages, 400 pages, the last thing you'd want to do is change your mind and have to go back and change it page by page by page, every single item. So style sheets also exist in Microsoft Word. If you've used any styling and applied some styles in Microsoft Word, you're familiar with that as well. So CSS is the online or digital version of that. So it provides that same functionality of style sheets. It's flexible, works across platforms, Macs, PCs, whatever, and it's quite powerful. We'll see why it is called cascading in just a minute, but I want to share with you this website, the zengarden.com, and I have it pulled up here. So this is the first page that loads. What this is where people download the basic HTML file, the basic skeleton, and a CSS file so that they know what different things have been identified that you can stylize with a CSS sheet. So if we were to download both of these, which I've actually done already, and I've opened them, I'm on my Mac right now, so this is brackets. You can see it looks very much like Notepad++. I'll do the real tutorial on my PC, but for now, this is the index page. So this is an HTML page. There's information in the head section that obviously just search engines see. This is a comment. Whenever we have the exclamation point and 2 dashes, this is just stuff that humans can read. Then we get down here and we have a body, and everything in the body tags is what we actually see on the page, just like you guys have done. And you can see that they've used divs. This one they called a page wrapper. So later on in CSS, we're going to apply some rule or rules to the class called page wrapper. And everything that's inside here, which as you can see it doesn't close until way down here at the very bottom almost, is going to get whatever rules we set up there. So because they use lots of classes and IDs, something that we're going to learn about soon, people are able to make their own CSS and stylize this. Here's an example of a style sheet. Don't worry about it too much yet. We're going to get to this, but this is what it looks like. These are the rules that tells this HTML page basically how to get dressed up. So if you think of humans, an index page is you. You can't change how tall you are. You can't change your eye color. You can't change the proportion of your arms and your legs to your body, things like that. That's the basic you. But the style is what you put on. So maybe there's a style called business casual. And when you do that, you wear khakis and a button-up shirt and nice shoes. Maybe there's a style called lazy day, and you wear flannel pajamas and a sweatshirt and no makeup. Maybe there's a style called prom, and you wear a fancy dress and heels or a tuxedo. The HTML, you, physically you, does not change, but how you dress yourself up and present yourself outwardly does change. That's the style part. So this style sheet says, for example, I'll just go right here, heading 3. This is telling it that all heading 3s should be in a font called Georgia, and if you don't have that, you can go ahead and use a sans serif. They should be italic, normal, and this size. This is a little bit different than we've talked about, but this is an actual size. Letter spacing is 1 pixel, and there's no margin at the bottom, and all of your heading 3s are a certain color. This is a hexadecimal color system that we'll learn about later as well. But because of that, anytime an H3 shows up in the index here, it's going to be stylized that way. So back to Zen Garden. This is the exact same HTML, but people applied their own CSS to it. So here's one. If you go over to the right, if you click on the name of it, here is another example. Literally, it's this exact same HTML file, this one. So the words and what's considered a heading 3 in a paragraph have not changed, but how they chose to stylize it has completely changed. There's more examples down here. Apothecary, number 4. This is another version of that exact same HTML, but a new style sheet. If we want to see what a robot named Jimmy looks like, here is a robot named Jimmy. They made that HTML page look differently and behave differently entirely based on the CSS sheet that it loads off of. So cascading style sheets are very powerful and very fun as well. Obviously, from an admin and a marketing standpoint, you don't need to get too deep into this, but you do need to understand the basics. So that's what we're going to go through. So why will we use CSS? Greater typography and page layout control. You saw all the differences. The style, how it looks, what it's wearing, the clothes, the makeup, whatever, if you will, is separate from the structure. HTML is exactly the same, but the style is different. These styles can be stored in a separate document and linked from the web page, which we're going to learn about. And because of that, you can make your file sizes smaller. So if you think of something as big as Amazon.com, I can't even imagine how many potential pages there are with that. But having one CSS page that dictates all of the styling rules is going to help, rather than having all that information on every single page within Amazon. Whoops. And because of that, easier site maintenance. All right. So here's why it's called a cascade. If you don't have any style showing, like we don't for bubbleunder.com, the only thing that works is the browser default. So if your browser is Chrome and it thinks that heading 1s should be in Times New Roman 14-point bold, if that's their default, that's exactly how it's going to look. However, if an external style sheet did exist, it would look for that and it would apply it. That would have more weight. We'll get to what these are in a minute, but this is an external, it's a separate file that each page in your website refers to for how they get dressed up. Then it looks to see, is there embedded styles? This is when you set up the style guide page by page. So at the top of a page, you would give it some rules, like this is our safety page. And even though our whole website has yellow backgrounds, this page has to have a pink background. So we would override it by having embedded style on that one page. Then it looks and says, are there any inline styles? Because if there are, they apply. So as we're actually going along in our HTML, what if right before the word pink, we see it wrapped in tags that tell it to be pink? That's called an inline style, and that's more important than any of these. So this is the default cascade. It's going to look for any of these, and if it doesn't exist, it goes up. Is there an inline style? No. Is there an embedded style? No. Is there an external style? No. Okay, you get my browser defaults. But if you don't have any HTML attributes, we're not telling any words what font they should be, we don't have an inline style, but all of a sudden on a page, we have an embedded style at the top of that page saying, use Calibri on this page. That would be the rule that's followed, as long as none higher up exists. All right, this is how we write CSS. And if you remember quickly from the style sheet I showed you, it looks very different. We write it in Notepad. All of this up here is commenting that means nothing, so I'll even wipe it out. And when you actually start writing these, you don't need to have any special opening and closing rules like we do in HTML. We just start with the thing that we want to stylize, and then we use curly braces, open and close, and inside of that we give it all the rules. So if the thing that we want to stylize is, I thought there'd be a header 1, but I guess there isn't. A header 3. We start with the thing, header 3, and then inside of curly braces, we give it all the rules. What font it is, how much letter spacing, if there's margin at the bottom of the header 3, and what color. So this is what a style sheet looks like. So the thing is called the selector. That's what you start with first. And then inside of the curly braces, you have a declaration and the declaration's value. So everything in our body, which is everything you see on a web page, is in between the two body tags. Remember, prior to that on the page, we have the head tags, and that's where the search engine stuff lives. We don't see that on the page. The body tags contain everything that we actually see on the page. So in this case, the background of the color of the text, actually, we'll get to that in a minute, is going to be blue. That's what this is meaning right here. All right. So here's an example. To configure a web page that has blue text on a yellow background. So I want you to think of the term color when we refer to it in CSS as meaning, you can see right below it we have background color. So color is kind of the opposite of background color. You can think of it as foreground color. And what it really is the color of your text. So body, everything that we see on our page has a background color of yellow, and the text is blue. That's what this code is. Blue and yellow are very simplistic, and as you guys know, there's tons of different colors on the color wheel. What's blue to you is not necessarily exactly what I'm picturing. This slide itself has light blue down here and a darker blue up here and a teal blue right here. So we have hexadecimal color values. And what they are is we start with the hashtag, and then we have 6 digits, and they're usually in pairs. 2 pairs, 3 pairs, sorry. So 0000FF, that's a certain color. The background color is FFFF00. So these hexadecimal colors is the way that we name colors on the web. There's lots of other ways of doing it, but these are not as common, and it's much deeper than this class needs to get. So how do you find color codes? Here's a great link, and I think if you just Googled hexadecimal color codes, you'd come up with many, but the link that I'm giving you right here, I will take you to now, and it is this. So here is, let's say we want a certain color red. So over here in the color bar, you pull this up and down depending on the family you want to get to. So if you want a green, you come somewhere in the green family here. And then you move this from a lighter green to a more saturated green, and then brighter to darker. So anywhere in here, if this is the green that you love right here, your hexadecimal code is 0F6812. The two that we're going to see a lot are white and black. So I'm going to take this pull all the way up to white. White's hexadecimal numbers are FFFFFF. Black is all zeros. So if your science teacher ever told you that black isn't a color, there is no color, or the absence of light, maybe you can remember that black is the zeros. There's nothing. White is the FFs. So this color page is really helpful. The other thing I have on this slide is just a basic CSS reference sheet. So that W3 that we're using to do our validation has a reference sheet. And All of these CSS properties are things that you can identify and therefore make change. So background color, that's how you would write that selector. It has to have a dash in between the two or a hyphen. That specifies the background color of whatever you're dealing with. Also on this page, I just wanted to show you that on the far right there's a color picker, and if you click on that, they have tons of color options in here. So maybe you pick this pink, but you're wondering, I want it to be a little bit lighter than that, maybe this version. So you can visually select colors and you see your hexadecimal code right over here. Lots of color tutorials here, more than we can even dream of right at the moment. So, all right, let's stop there on this quick overview and we're gonna keep moving on.